Hey guys, we are back with Messy on Purpose, and I have Johanna here with me today. And I'm going to let her give a little introduction, and then we're going to dive right in.
Well, obviously, I'm Johanna Burkhardt. I am a quantum alchemist, channeler, teacher, and self-help author. And my mission in life is to help you to be the change that you want to see so that you can create the reality that you are desiring. And we do that by teaching you how to shift your frequency. It's pretty much what I had to do in my life, and it's just become my mission to help other people do the same.
So do you want to start with like kind of your background that led you to this journey of helping others do the same?
Yeah, when my whole life fell apart, when everything burned down. Yeah, 2015 was the worst and best year of my life. I had 2 years prior had moved cross country, pretty much given up everything that I owned to risk it all for love. And you can never outrun your past. That shit comes running back for you every time. And so it came back sooner than 2 years, but the 2 year mark in 2015 is when it all came crumbling down. And I thought I was on top of the world. I was still in corporate. I just gotten like a $50,000 a year raise. We had just secured a home loan to build a new house. I was engaged to be married. And like just life seemed like, oh, everything's finally going right. And then the rug got pulled out underneath me when at the time my 56-year-old father was diagnosed with liver failure and given 4 months to live. And I had to sell my childhood home, everything he had ever worked for, move him cross country to North Carolina where I was living, just to come home to being fired and not being supported by my soon-to-be husband. Like, he left me completely alone, wouldn't let me feel or break or support me in any way. And it just kind of dominoed into living in such a survival state, fighting grief of watching my father die in front of me, knowing that he's going to die, and just trying to live each day. And after he died, it was about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, probably 2 months after he died, every repressed abuse came back. I had a very rough childhood of physical, sexual, mental, emotional abuse, neglect, you name it. I experienced it. And you don't realize how much you disassociate when you go through that kind of abuse, and how much of those memories, like your amygdala quits recording. And so you don't always have a full picture, but you have it stored in your body and in your nervous system. And so about 2 months after he died, it all came back at once. And not only that, but every one of my spiritual gifts or abilities turned on. So I was hearing spirit, I was feeling spirit, I was seeing them, I was having all of these things. And that is enough to push anybody to the edge of unaliving themselves. And that's where it brought me. And I lived in that spot for probably a good year. In fact, I ended up having a stroke over it. I was diagnosed with seizures. They put me on anti-anxiety medication, antidepressant medication. They put me on seizure medication, which is just a fantastic cocktail, by the way, of numbingness. And it was the day that I admitted to my then husband, that I didn't want to live anymore, that saying it out loud, after I had planned it in my head and done all these things, it was like this tiniest crack of light came in, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe I do want to live. Maybe I really don't want this. And it was a very slow process, but I dug myself out of that hole and started receiving from God, source, guides, whatever you want to call it. And I started listening, and it slowly started to walk that healing path. But even though I was doing the healing work, I still wasn't addressing my nervous system. I still wasn't addressing the fact that I was living in this frequency that was so low. And I ended up in stage 3, adrenal fatigue, in full burnout, barely able to function, and ended up, getting a divorce in 2020 and walking away and deciding like, no, things get to be different now. And I walked away. I gave him everything. I walked away with nothing. I had no energy to fight or to even take care of myself. And that began the process of doing the deep work of stripping away all the identities and layers inside of me that were not me, that were these stories from my childhood that were ruling my life and keeping me repeating these cycles over and over and over again. And I was just done with it. And so it was in 2019, the process of me learning how to shift frequencies and how to work with frequency in that way started. And in 2020, I just needed to be on my own. I needed to be in my own energy. And I just started implementing that work every day in different ways. And I'm never going to say that I'm a master of it. I think we teach what we're meant to master. But I'm in a really good place today. And it's because I was willing to look in the mirror and see, like, why did I call this in? What am I not facing? What am I not handling? What's weighing me down? And just started like stripping it all away over and over again. It's like, I feel like I've lived 12 lives since 2020.
Did the pandemic and everything happening, did that play a part in like this kind of awakening that happened in 2020?
No, not at all. In fact, if anything, it helped me. It made things easier for me. I mean, I work in this industry, and so, you know, I didn't have a corporate job demanding me to do things or not do things. I had that flexibility. I flew the whole time in 2020 and 2021. In fact,
I did too.
I had a whole row to myself. I was like, we can keep this up. Like, I'm down with this.
It was great traveling in that time.
It was the best time to travel. But no, it didn't really play a too big of a part in it. And, you know, I always say women emotionally leave before they physically leave. And so, I mean, emotionally, I had been in, you know, right after we got married, I had already checked out. You know, I never should have actually pulled the trigger and married him, but I'm glad I did. And my third solo book that I just literally finished writing and submitted to publishers, I dedicated that book to him, because if he would not have abandoned me when I needed him the most, if he would not have shown me my abandonment wound so big that I couldn't ignore it anymore, I never would have shifted out of it. I never would have been able to see it in the way that I did. And so as much pain and suffering that I went through during that time, I'm super grateful that I had that experience with him, and him and I are best friends today.
It's crazy. Some of the most horrific things in life you can be a blessing, and people don't ever it's very rare to see somebody that actually embrace a lesson that was taught.
Yeah.
Because that's what they are, right? We learn from these little things that we do. Like, you could have skipped the whole marriage thing and then skipped all of that lesson, and maybe it wouldn't have played into who you are today.
Yeah. And that's why I'm so grateful for that. I mean, the lessons didn't stop there. I mean, they kept going.
They always do.
You know, they kept going, and I kept resisting and kept resisting. I mean, I lived on my own for probably a year and a half. And right after I published my second book, thinking I was riding a high, and again, it was a cycle, right? I get to these beautiful peaks, and then the old story comes in that the shoe is going to drop. And of course it did. And all my money disappeared. I had to ask churches for donations to pay my rent, and ended up selling everything I had just bought, and whatever was left I put in storage, and ended up becoming a nomad, not because I wanted to, but because I had no other choice to. And at the same time, I am ridiculously grateful for that, because when you are solo traveling in your car and you're just going, I mean, I went through 28 states. You don't know where you're going next. You don't know how long you're going to be there. It made me face every survival fear, right? And so today, like, uncertainty to me is not scary. It's an adventure. Like, I kind of get excited, like, ooh, I don't know what's going to happen next. And it's okay not to know, because if I try to figure out what it is, I'm going to create something that I don't want. And so, and all those, you know, stories of what if this happens? What if the worst case scenarios? And I just don't allow that to rule me anymore. Like, I've learned to lead myself, and in doing so, I lead all those inner children and all those parts of me that have all of these scary perceptions of what may happen because they're frozen in that space still of that trauma. And I don't fight with them anymore. They just trust me to go, hey, it's okay. We're going to do it scared. Like, I'm right here. I'm with you. I've learned to be with myself. I've learned to support myself and be decisive and have conviction in my decisions. And that is what it means to lead yourself. You can't be wishy-washy. You wouldn't take advice from a wishy-washy general in the military. So why are you going to let these parts of yourself dictate what's true? It's not true.
And you have to be able to trust yourself.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing that most people miss. If you can't trust yourself, how do you ever put trust into somebody else?
Yeah. And I actually think we're always trusting ourselves. It's just, what version of you are you trusting?
Is that you?
Are you trusting the 5-year-old who thinks she's about to get, in trouble because she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing? And so that kind of woke me up too, because it's like, oh, I've trusted myself the whole time, but I was just trusting the wrong version of myself. Or, it's not even wrong, but the version of myself that played small, that was limited, that felt like she was not enough. And it was like, why would I follow that? That doesn't even make sense when you logically think it. Yeah.
It's what you want to grow out of.
Yes.
You want to trust the future person you're trying to be.
Yeah. The one that's confident and believes in herself. Like, that's the voice I trust now. The other voices, I'm like, that's okay. You can think that, you can feel that, but we're going to do this anyway. And you're just going to come with me.
Let's try this out and see how it goes.
Yeah.
That's kind of my motto with everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because I always see these memes or videos about fuck around and find out. I'm like, that's just how I live. I'm not going to put my toe in. I'm just going to jump in. And if I don't like it, I'll get out,
100%. You try it, you don't like it, it doesn't work out. That's okay. Yeah. On to the next.
Yeah. But the toe isn't going to tell you anything. Like, you just got to dive in.
Yeah. Oh, and everything's scary, no matter what you're trying for the first time. So why not?
Yeah. And I mean, it's like, is it really scary, or is it just uncertain, And so it's like, oh, there's something really fearful here. I just don't know what's going to happen. And so it makes me feel fear. But I was like, what if the most amazing thing happens? And now I live by the motto, everything is happening for my benefit. And so every time I go through a breakup, every time something fails, every time anything goes wrong, or what my ego perceives as wrong, I'm always like, this is happening for my benefit. And I can't see it. But when I look back at all the other stuff that we judged as bad, that absolutely was for my benefit. So there's like evidence now that, yeah, everything is happening for my benefit. So what do I really care what happens? Why don't I just be open to it?
I strongly believe that everything happens for a reason. We're taught lessons through life for a reason, to move us in the right direction. Not every failure is actually a failure. Sometimes it's just a little lesson that you got to learn along the way to navigate to the next thing.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for the failures, because I always say, like, I'm not afraid of failure. I'm an expert in failure. Most people are afraid of success, and that was me. But the fear of success came from feeling like if I'm successful, that means there's going to be a lot more, not necessarily pressure, but I'm going to need more support. And in the past, I haven't had that support. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean we're not going to have it this time. Doesn't mean that we can't hire people to support us, And so it's interesting how people think they're really afraid of failure, but I think most people are afraid of success.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because what's next after you get success?
Can you hold it that long? Can you carry it that long? And then they get afraid. Well, if I get it, then what if I lose it?
What if I lose it? What if I can't sustain it?
Yeah.
What's next? That's even scarier, right? You get to that point where you're like, yes, I hit that goal I've been waiting for, and then now what?
Yep. Yeah, and then you just move the bar a little higher, and then it just keeps going. But I'm in that space right now. I'm in what I call the void, or the in between, where I don't know what's going to happen next. I just submitted my book to publishers for the first time, that's scary as hell. I have all these things that are kind of up in the air. And this is the first time that I'm in this space where I'm like not bracing for impact. I'm not trying to fix it or figure it out. I'm just like, well, I'm going to have a good time and enjoy myself. And when the next thing shows up, I'll know, and I'll know what to do with it. And that has been the biggest evidence for me of the work that I do for myself, to just be like, okay, we need to shift. We need to move into a different frequency, because living here, camped out here, isn't going to help me at all.
And what do you think? So obviously, like the situations and the circumstances that you're in is what brought you to this.
Yeah.
Right. But like, what were some big steps or little tools that you used along the way to kind of help you get to this point?
So the thing that came through that I used, I call it the purification process, but it really helped me to stop, take accountability, become present, sit and be with myself and love myself anyway. So it has 4 frequencies. I see you, I hear you, you are safe, I love you anyway. And actually, I love you anyways tattooed on my arm because I legit hated myself. And so when I started to love myself, I got so excited I went and got it tattooed on my arm. But so I see you was the accountability piece. It was like, I see that I'm triggered. I see that I'm in fear. I see that I want to lash out or I want to shut down. Then as soon as I started calling it out, like 50% of that pressure went away, like immediately. And there's so much power in the fact that most people that we talk to or engage with, they want to be seen. They want to be heard, right? And so I hear you is just me observing the ego and inner child personalities that are giving me their lens of perception about what's happening, right? So I'm listening to them. No one listened to me when I was a child. So I'm like, okay, let me listen to what you have to say. It isn't the truth, but I'm going to hear you out, right? And then I am safe was 2 parts. It was 1, I'm safe to feel this. I'm not going to label it as shame or guilt or disappointment or not enough. Instead, I was like, where does this live in my body? And then I would just give it room to breathe and feel all of the uncomfortable sensations. And as soon as it got to the most intense part of feeling where most people want to immediately resist, I would just breathe out and let it move. And I would almost instantly feel better. But then I would always, the I love you anyway is like, hey, I love you even if you are feeling not enough, even if you are wanting to throw a tantrum, even if you're pissed, like it's okay to feel that way, But it was also reminding myself like to look around and be like, there's no tiger about to eat me. There's nobody about to beat me. There's nothing. I'm completely safe. So it was a process in me learning how to be more present, to be more aware of what I'm thinking and feeling and experiencing, and just to be with myself and love myself anyway. And I would say I practiced that and taught that for a good 3 years before, like, I didn't really need to use it anymore because it became my automatic. It's like now it's the automatic thing that I do. I don't have to call the steps out or anything. It's just my body now is so trained that as soon as we're triggered, as soon as a negative thought loop comes up, like we stop and we just go through it automatically. It's like I don't even have to think about it anymore. And it was the greatest gift I was given. And I talk about it all the time just because that's the key. Like, yes, you can go. I've had hypnotherapy. I am a hypnotherapist. I've gone to shamans. I've done plant medicine. I mean, I've done it all. And at the end of the day, like those things are great. They can excavate a lot of things. But if you can just learn to recognize that you're not broken and just be with yourself and say, what do I need right now? And support and love yourself in every state that you're in, you're going to make huge progress in your life. Like you don't have to hire people. You don't have to do all these crazy things. You can. I mean, I like to do them, but that's really all you need.
It's very simple. It's very simple, but hard at the same time.
Yes. Because you have to be dedicated to it. You have to be committed to it for yourself.
Well, it comes to making change, right? Change is hard for people. And if you don't want it, you're not going to do it no matter what tools are
Yeah.
given to you. You have to want the change.
Yeah.
Is this something that you teach other people then now?
Yeah, it's in, gosh, every course or live group experience that I've done since 2019 has taught this process in one way, shape, or another. And that's why I consider myself an alchemist, is because, you know, diamonds are made under pressure. The density in our body is essentially coal, right? Our physical DNA is carbon based. And so when you continuously repress things, it starts to put it under pressure, and eventually a trigger is going to come in and it's going to explode. That is the moment you have for alchemy, because the moment that you give it room to breathe and change form, you become more crystalline, the same way a diamond does. And so anytime I work with someone, whether it's in a program or in private mentorship, it's always about like, let's not bypass what you're feeling. Like as soon as we hit that spot, it's like, perfect, or we're here. This is the gold right here. Like, let's work with this and change the energy, change the form. And when you do that, you immediately shift into a different frequency. But you can also do that without the trigger, right? If you are aware of your state of being, your consciousness, what's playing in your mind, the illusion that you're playing out, you can ask yourself, does this feel good? Because if it doesn't, if you were listening to a radio station in your car, if you're listening to death metal when you like country, it isn't going to feel good. So you change the channel, you change the radio frequency, right? So you can consciously do that on your own. And it doesn't really necessarily take effort. It just takes decision. And you have to say, oh no, you know what? I have so much to be grateful for today. It's a beautiful day. You start rampaging on all the things that are in front of you, the small things that are good, because when you find joy and peace in the small things, then you're not going to be afraid of the big things. Like, you're going to welcome the big things, you know? So it's just about self-awareness, honestly. And that's usually where I start with anybody, is like, we need to work on your self-awareness, because if we can expand your ability to see yourself, then you can expand your ability of what you can have for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts there, and you have to like be aware to even know what you want, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, nobody even knows what they want. If you would ask them, it'll be very generalized, right? Mm-hmm. Even if they even have an answer,
right?
I know a lot of people that don't even know. It's definitely a learning process, and it's harder to learn about you than it is to learn about other people. Like, you can sit and listen to somebody else, but like, the biggest part, I think, is taking responsibility. Because if you're not taking responsibility for your actions, you can never truly dive into yourself.
Right.
It's a lot.
And
I've done a lot myself.
When I wrote my books, you know, they were my story and what I did to move through that and change that story. And I talk about it all the time, you know, the things that I talk about, my patterns. Like, in 2019, when I was on the verge of getting a divorce, I hadn't asked yet, I literally was able to map out all my patterns from childhood and see how they repeated, and how I was, you know, I ended up being married and divorced 3 times. It was basically the same man on repeat, right? The people in my life were the same. They all just looked a little bit different. The circumstances were all a little bit different, but there was a cycle that I just kept going through over and over again. And I took ownership of that, and I was like, no, it's time to break the cycle. And the things that I talked about in my marriage going wrong, I took ownership within that. And I took ownership, him and I, you know, I've actually had him on my own podcast where him and I talk together. And it was like, yeah, I was holding you to your potential. I could see your potential, and I held you to that standard, but that wasn't even something that you saw for yourself. So how was that fair for you? Like, I didn't accept you as you were. Like, we didn't stand a chance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Because, I mean, from the outside, you can see somebody and you're like, I know what they can do. But if they don't know they can do that, how can they ever do that? And I have a bad habit of that, because, like, I'm one of those people that are like a fixer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
me too.
I fix everything. And, like, somebody tells me their problem, and I'm like, it's simple. Let's just do this, and then it fixes it. And that's not simple if they don't even understand why things are the way they are.
Yes,
or
exactly.
Why they react the way they act, or what they even want, how they're processing things. Like, all of that matters on how they can fix their situation. I can't fix it for them. You
Nope.
can't fix it for them. They have to look within and figure it out.
Yeah. And he wasn't willing. And he told me that, like, I don't want to do this. And I'm somebody who my whole life, I just outgrow people. I evolve very quickly. I've always been pretty self-aware, and it just kept expanding and expanding. And so we were so far apart by the end that we didn't have anything in common. You know, we barely got along. And it's funny because when you let go of the pressure, when I let go of the pressure of him needing to be somebody different and we split up, it's like we instantly came back and he was a different person because I gave him room to breathe and change form. And he has grown exponentially since we divorced, and we are able to be the best of friends and spend hours on FaceTime and hang out together. And people think it's weird. And I'm like, why is it weird? Like, you know, we were friends before we got married, you know, and got together. We're going to be friends after, but I was just putting so much pressure on him to be something that he wasn't wanting to be or desiring to move towards. Is that his potential? Sure. But again, he was very comfortable in his little comfort cage, and that's his right to stay there. It's his journey, you know? So I've learned to accept people where they are, or I can't, then that's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah. And it's okay to like separate. Like that's something people miss. I know like marriage is supposed to be forever and everything, but if it doesn't work and people are unhappy and it's better apart, it doesn't mean you can't be friends. It doesn't mean that it isn't still a connection in some way.
Yeah.
It just means there's not a love like a wife and husband.
Right.
You know, there's different kind of love. There's a friendship.
And I used to judge myself like, oh, I was engaged twice between marriage 1 and 2 that I ended, you know, so I'm like, I just keep repeating, and I keep going through these cycles of where I get really successful, and then I'm down to losing it all again. I've lost it all 3 times. I've had to start over 3 times. I've done all these things, and I've been through all these stuff, and I feel like my life is a mess all the time, but now I just love it. I'm just like, no, this is who I am. And I just have these crazy experiences. And instead of suffering, I just decide to have a good time in it. You know, I just decide to roll with it because it hurts a whole lot less. And, you know, I can quickly see like, oh, I know why this is happening. Oh yeah, this thing right here. And I go over there and I'm shifted out of it. And so it's just been a process, but it's a process of unlearning, programming from childhood, programming from society. Like you should be married only one time, or you should be with this person for the rest of your life. And it's like, that would be wonderful, but people outgrow each other. People change. We're constantly shifting identities. We're constantly shifting into different versions of ourselves. And I don't know, my kids did better with having 2 happy parents that weren't together than they did watching us be unhappy silently and pretending everything was okay.
Because the kids know.
Even no matter what you tell them, they know. And honestly, I think that's where a lot of distrust stems from, is like, as children, we're so wide open and we feel something ain't right, but then the parents tell you a different thing and we start to distrust our own intuition. And I think that's where it starts for a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you see it. I remember as a kid seeing it and then being told something totally different. Like that's very, very common. And there's so many relationships that people just stay together because
for the kids.
They stay for the kids and they think it's best for the kids, but it's really not. If it's not a good dynamic, it's never good.
No, and you're teaching your children to abandon yourself for some belief that it should be this way. And I mean, that's what it is. I mean, my biggest wound is betrayal and abandonment. And I learned from my parents, like they abandoned me. And so I learned to abandon myself, and having to unlearn that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, because at every moment I have to ask myself, do I really want to do this, or am I doing it because I want to be accepted, loved, successful, whatever? Am I doing it for something I'm proving? And if I don't really want to do it, I have to say no. And people don't like that.
No, they don't like no. And honestly, it's becoming my favorite word.
Yeah. Like I choose me, like I don't want to go out today, or I don't want to do that, or I don't want to listen to that. You know, it's like, it's okay. You know, we don't have to be the same.
Okay with that, right?
Yes.
Be okay with someone saying no, because not only are they like They're just saying no because they just don't want to do that, and that's fine. And it doesn't have to be a big excuse or anything.
Right.
You should be happy that they're willing to tell you no and not come miserably and making whatever it is that you were wanting to enjoy,
Yeah.
Forced, which makes the environment very unlevel, and
Yes.
it's not as fun. It's not as enjoyable. So,
Yeah.
find somebody who actually wants to do that, or go do it yourself and
Right.
enjoy your own company.
And I have a few friends that still run the people pleaser energy. And anytime I can feel them wavering, I always say, like, out of all the people, I'm the one you can tell no to. If you really don't want to go, please don't abandon yourself for me. I will be okay. Listen to what it is that you want. And they all just exhale, like, oh my God, I can do that with you. And it's like, well, one, you should probably be doing that with everybody, but hell yeah, you can do that with me. I want you to will it bum me out that you're not coming? Sure. But it's not the end of the world. I would rather you be happy and healthy and choosing what you want than trying to please me, because you're not going to have a good time then.
Yeah, and you don't even need an excuse.
Yeah.
You can literally tell me hell no.
Just no.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, cool. Sweet.
Awesome.
I'll find something else to do. Move on. Yeah. But if think about how much better relationships would be if we all honored that.
Oh my God, it would be so freeing.
Yeah.
That's how, me and my husband, we're like that. It's just straight honesty. It's a little overly honest, probably.
Yeah.
But for most people, for us, it's normal. But if somebody hears us talk to each other, they're like, whoa. But it's just it's easy. If I know he doesn't want to do half the stuff I want to do, right? So I'll ask out of courtesy, but I know the answer and I'm okay with it. If you don't want to, that's fine. Don't go.
And you're allowed to have your own life outside of your marriage, or so it's just, if there's anything anyone can ever take away from this or personal development in general, it's just choose yourself. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. So if you're not putting you first, doesn't mean you still can't consider other people. But if you aren't the first person in that people to consider, there's a problem there. Who else is going to consider you? Who else is going to choose you if you're not choosing you? You've got to start there.
If you're doing that, you're more of a people pleaser. The people that you're going to be surrounded with are people that are mostly likely to use and abuse and actually love you, which isn't worth it either. You have to have standards and you have to have boundaries and you have to put them up, because otherwise there are plenty of people that will take total advantage of anyone.
Yeah. And I lost a lot of friends and family members when I quit being a people pleaser. And I was, at first I was sad about it, but then I was and probably a little pissed, but at the same time I was this just shows that this whole entire time that they were using me for what I could do for them, what I could give them, how I made them feel. And if I was really honest with myself, most of those people never reached out to me, never considered me, never made any efforts without me doing something. So I was like, am I really losing anything? No, not.
You're not, because you never had anything to begin with.
Exactly.
You had something. You were valuable to them.
Yeah.
And so it felt like there was connection. That's something too. I just talked to, about a podcast I did a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about connection. People don't realize that most of your relationships are not true connections.
No.
You're not truly connecting with people. A lot of them are just acquaintances that you call friends.
Yeah. And I ran the cycle of needing to be needed in order to feel valid, right? And so that's a cycle a lot of people pleasers run. And so they find all of these people that need them. And then when they need somebody, guess what? Nobody's there. But again, that taught me oh, I have to be there for me. I have to show up for me. I have to choose me. And when I started doing that, I started meeting people who also chose me, but also chose themselves. And that is the biggest green flag for me, is people who are considerate, but also they're considering themselves and they're not afraid to say no. They're not afraid to speak their truth. They're not afraid to call me out if I'm doing something that's out of my alignment. And those are the best friendships that you find, but I never would have found that if I wouldn't have done the work for myself.
100%. And it's okay to have a small circle. You don't need
It's better to have a small circle.
Oh, yeah. I have like a very, very, very small circle.
Yeah.
And it's been more freeing to have a smaller circle than have 30 people to go do something with.
Yeah. Because in my 20s, that's what it was. We had a friends group that was 30 plus people deep, and we did everything together. And I used to think I was missing out on something, because when you go through this process, you do become a little bit isolated or a little bit of a loner. You're shedding relationships. But now that I have my small circle of friends, those are all people I can absolutely count on. Out of the 30 plus in my other friends group, I'm not sure I could have actually counted on any of them. And not because they're not good people or whatever. It's just that's the way that it was, Well, so it's a big difference
that you made.
Yeah.
The type of relationship you had. Mm-hmm. It wasn't built on that. So it wouldn't have been there if you guys needed it, right? Yeah. Maybe on the other side, right? If you're a people pleaser, you automatically, if somebody calls, it doesn't matter who they are, you're going to try to help them. That's just how you are, as a people pleaser. But like on the other side of that, not everyone's like that. And not everyone's going to pick up the phone at 3 a.m. if you're in a crisis.
Yeah. And there's the lessons that I know for sure I'm here to master are expectations, detachment, and surrender. Because as somebody who had all those wounds, I just held on so tightly to things that weren't serving me. So relationships, careers, businesses, you name it. I held on so tightly out of fear of being alone. And I think it's hilarious that I was basically shoved off a cliff and gone, you're going to be a nomad now. I was alone for 2.5 years. I had to become my own best friend. And so while I was kicking and screaming as it began, about halfway through, I was like, oh, all right, this is pretty good actually, and I got to really enjoy myself and enjoy experiences. And I was like, I don't have to get bitched at because I want to stop 85 times on a road trip, or, I can go to wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. And it was so freeing. And it was just the best thing. And so it's funny how everything happens for your benefit, and you're just like, what? My life is a dumpster fire. And when people say that to me, or I lost my job, or I'm getting a divorce, I'm like, congratulations. Like, this is your moment. Like, you're in the inferno, and you can't carry the light until you walk through the inferno. So get to walking.
Gotta put that work in.
But it's been a journey, but I think about the difference between me and my brother, or me and other people who have been through similar trauma. And, some of them are in jail. Some of them, their life's a mess. And it's like, my life's a mess too. But at the same time, I used what happened to me to help other people, and to help other people break the cycles and to shed all of that weight that they're carrying that's not meant for them to carry, and all that programming. And so it's, for me, like, I look back at my life now and I'm like, I can't imagine a different life. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be able to help people. I wouldn't, just being me. And if I never worked another day in this industry again, I'm still helping people because I am embodied and walking the path of what I am. I all these things happen to me. I go on these extravagant trips, these places, I meet these crazy people, and people are like, God, you must make millions. I'm like, no, but guess what? I don't need to. When I need to, then, or it happens, that's awesome. But I'm living my best life, and I am as free as I can be. And that's not because I bought my freedom with hustle and success. It's just because I choose to be free, and I choose to allow myself to be supported and for things to show up, and they do every time.
And finding that purpose kind of came with the journey that you went through.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because there was a long time I was real angry with God. How could you let this happen to me as a child? I was an innocent child. You go through those phases. And, it's waking up and realizing one day that you are an aspect of God, that everything is, that we all are, and we're all just having an experience. And that's where the frequency comes in. It's like, everything could be going wrong in your life and you can still be in a good mood. You can still go out and have a good time. You can still look at the sky and go, God, it's a beautiful day. You know, it's a choice. And when I realized that, I was like, oh. And when I was suffering, I would hear the voice come in and say, when I'd be like, this needs to stop, make it stop, make it stop. And I would hear this voice come in real soft and say, then stop. All you have to do is stop and say, I'm done with this, and take a deep breath out and stop pulling it back in again and again and again. And I was like, oh, wow, I really do have more control of my life than I thought, not in a sense of making things happen, but from an inside space of my state of being. I can control my state of being. And if you control your state of being, that means you're in charge of the frequency that you are on, and the frequency of the things that you want don't live in the victim. So you have to choose, yeah, things are shitty today, or things didn't go well, or I'm tired, or whatever, but can you still choose to be grateful for this life? Can you still choose to find beauty in it? Can you still choose to be kind to people and smile? And the days you can't, love yourself through that. But, you know, as much as you can, choose. And you're teaching yourself, you're rewiring your neural pathways, you're reprogramming yourself every time you choose.
No matter what kind of day you're having, there's
no matter what
to be grateful for. Whether it's just waking up, whether it's the people that you get to have in your life, whether it's the job you get to go to, even though it sucks. Like, there's always something to be grateful for. Every time I fall in a weird slump, I like to do 30 days of gratitude. Literally just find one thing every single day that's different that I'm grateful for. Because there are so many. And it's surprisingly hard at first, but then once you start doing it, you realize, wow, there are a lot of them.
Yeah. Even on my worst day. So on days where I can't find anything and I'm just in that, my go-to is to always go watch the sunset, because the things that I appreciate the most, I can't create. I can't create a full moon. I can't create a sunrise or a sunset. I can't, create a beautiful landscape. I can only appreciate it. And so I just sit there and turn on music and, just stare into the colors, and it just washes me over with peace. And so I've created a list of my go-to things that when I can't seem to find anything, even though it's all right in front of me, I know the things that I absolutely will appreciate. And it may not be a big shift. It may not take you from miserable or super depressed to, excited about life. But if it can bring you back to that 0 point, that neutral, peaceful place, or even move you up a little bit, that's all it takes. And then that's a step. And then there's another step, right? And so you just have to keep following that. But it's work, yes. But I like to not call it work anymore. I like to call it support. I'm supporting myself. I'm loving myself. These things, there's days where I'm like, I don't want to sit in a sauna. I don't want to work out. I don't want to do these things. And it's like, but I know that if I do them, I will feel better. I know that I'll have more energy. My mind will be more clear. And so I create discipline as a form of self-respect. Like, hey, us showing up, even if it's for 10 minutes, we're respecting the fact that we know this is good for us. And that's another thing that people struggle with, is discipline. And so when you tell them that it's the highest level of self-respect, it kind of shifts their mindset a little bit.
Yeah, that is the biggest problem, I think, in society alone. People just committing and being disciplined in something.
Yeah.
When it doesn't even necessarily mean working out, just anything.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating, actually, that it's such a big common problem. Because if you do it, you feel better. You feel better when you commit to something, you're disciplined in it, and you're true to yourself. Because if you can honor what you want on a daily basis by doing that thing over and over and over again, even when you don't feel like it,
right,
there's a shift in your brain that kind of is like, wow, I can do it.
Yeah. That's why I work out, honestly, because I work out pretty hard. And I don't do it to have some special body or whatever, I do it because it's like, my workouts are hard. And so I'm in the moment where I want to quit, and I'm like, oh my God, look at me. I can do hard things. Like, I can sit in this discomfort for 2 minutes in this pose and know that it's going to end, and just be here in it. And so working out has been a game changer for me. But I think the biggest disciplined thing that I have done is create a routine for myself. Now, it's not rigid, meaning that those things can't happen at different points around the day. But when I became a nomad, I created a routine even within that, because I wanted my nervous system to have predictability. And when nervous system has predictability, it tends to feel safer more. And so when you haven't really learned how to regulate your nervous system or manage your energy, a routine is a really good place to start. And I always have minimums with my routine. So like example, I work out 4 days a week minimum. I usually end up working out 5 or 6, but 4 is my minimum. And it's a minimum of 10 minutes. So even on the days where I am just not there, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do it, 10-minute walk, 10 minutes of yoga, 10 minutes of something. And 9 times out of 10, I go on to do a full workout. But it's that 10 minutes, like, okay, we have a minimum. And if I only meet that minimum, that's okay. But I showed up for myself. I created that predictability within my nervous system that shows my nervous system that I am loved and supported and that I'm leading myself. And that has been the biggest game changer for me.
It makes a big difference when you have things in place that you commit to every single day.
Right.
That goes into your routine. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you have to have it on schedule.
Yes.
It's just doing that.
Yes.
And when you do that, it really does, it develops something in your brain to where anything is possible. Mm-hmm. Right? So like showing yourself that you can do these little things will show yourself that you can do the big things too. And that kind of hits back on that fear that we were talking about earlier, like, everyone's fear of that change and that fear of like what's going to happen next or what might change if I get this. Mm-hmm. And when you show yourself that you can do something over and over and over again, and you start to see change in yourself while you're doing that anyway, but like it shows you that you can do it. You just have to do it one step at a time.
It helps you to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And think about how many people this year and over the next few years that are going to be running in survival mode and in that fear of uncertainty as our world starts to shift and change. And so for me, it's like my biggest reason right now for getting on other people's podcasts and putting out more books and just starting to speak more in general is to show people that living in uncertainty doesn't have to be a scary thing. It doesn't have to be fear-based. The other side of uncertainty is the other side of the coin, right? And uncertainty is an anxiety. It's a fear. The other side of that is excitement. It's adventure. So you get to choose how you want to view this. You get to choose the lens in which you see it through. And just to be an example of that, because I know what it's like to watch your whole life that you've built get torn apart and to have nothing. I mean, I went through it 3 times. And if I can stand here today as a published author, as someone who helps other people, who sheds her light, who lives in joy and just enjoys her life, and that's all I do. Like that's what I need to do. Like we need to show people that uncertainty is not a scary thing. It's just a choice to see it that way, and to get excited about what is possible and to open up that imagination and creativity of like, God, if anything could happen, what would be the most awesomest thing I'd want to happen? Like, what would that look like? And so it's just teaching people to get curious, to not get stuck in the story and get curious and open themselves up to other opportunities. And in doing that, other scenarios, you're going to find doors. You're going to find opportunities that you couldn't see before.
Well, and if you're just a sitting duck, right? You're not going to mean anything. Nothing changes. Yeah. There's nothing to fear because you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I get that. But like you also are not opening yourself up to opportunities because if you're not moving, the opportunities are not going to come to you.
Yeah. They don't go to you.
Yeah. You have to be taking action and moving forward, or at least in a direction for something to come along. And people think, oh, this person's so lucky, or oh my God, I can't believe that happened for you. But then you don't see all the things that they did to move towards that while you're sitting there not making any changes.
Yeah. Anytime you see anybody who just shows up overnight and they're like, now they're all big, there's a good probably 10 to 15 years that you didn't see of them trying and failing and trying and failing. And, I always remind myself of that when I see someone coming up in the world, and I'm like, okay, it's their time. Like they put in the work, and they're there. But, and a lot of people are also in this space of where they think I will be when, or I will feel this when I have this, or I achieve this. But the mirror, your reality is a mirror, and it can only reflect back what you are. So if you aren't actively working to be the person that would have those things, and responding and having a routine and living from a state of being of someone that has what you want, where you want to be, you'll never be there. And so even if those are the steps you take, is just changing how you show up for yourself, that's going to move you forward. Because again, your reality is simply a mirror of you. So you got to look in the mirror and go, oh, okay, what can I change here? And then your reality will change.
And that's what a lot of people do that you don't even see. All the work that people put in to get to where they are is unseen. That's honestly the reason I call this messy on purpose, is because the mess is where it happens, but that's not what everybody broadcasts, right? No. You don't see that on social media. You don't see that in a business you walk in that's successful. You don't see that in these mentor groups where they're promising that you can be like me. Like, you don't see the mess, and the mess is where it happens. And if we don't embrace the mess and we don't enjoy it and we don't take that action during it, we will never open up those same opportunities. And that's why people feel stuck.
Yeah. And that's I would say one of the things that I'm known for is I don't hide anything. Like, I am as transparent as they come. And for a long time, I got a lot of slack from that from other coaches and healers. And I was like, but this is what's real. There's nothing shameful about me failing. There's nothing shameful about something not working out for me. It's something that I can learn from. And if I can learn from it and I can share about it, someone else can learn from it. And maybe they won't have to go through that. And so I have never really felt shame or embarrassment to show the behind the scenes of my journey. And I think that's why a lot of people call me the real one, because I keep it real. I'm like, this is what's going on, and this is how I'm working through it, because I feel like that's where the most value is. Yes, I created this beautiful thing and I'm here, but I'm here because that's what I went through, like you said. And so let me teach you how I can help you move through that, because that's probably where you are right now.
And it might even help you skip a few steps, right?
Yes.
Now I've already trialed and errored this. Let me tell you how I did it. And then you won't make the same mistakes.
Yeah.
And we can learn from each other. All of us can. All of us have gone through different things, different situations, some very similar, some very different, right? And I mean, sharing the real parts is really more beneficial than sitting here and talking about how you're successful and how you built this. But you're not telling me the details of what you went through to build it. You're just saying, oh yeah, well, we did this, this, and this. Well, yeah, but what about what failed?
Yeah.
What didn't work out? That's where we learn. That's where we connect. So somebody is not going to connect to you if you just go up to them and you're just like, yeah, so I own this business, and I, invest into these or whatever. And now they're like, oh, okay, well, you're lucky. That's usually the mindset behind it. But if you go up to them and you're like, let me tell you how many times I failed before I got it. Now they're like, I can relate. I've failed on a few things. Let me listen. I want to connect with this person. Two totally different conversations. Yep. One's a real connection. One is just talking.
Yep. And that's why I love podcasts, why I created my own, why I go on other people's, why I listen to them, because you hear stories and people relate more through storytelling, right? And sharing your story, because oh my God, it was like you're telling my story. And I'm like, I know, it's so many of our stories, but it gives them hope when you see that person actually made it through the other side. It's like, okay, if they can do it, I know I can do it, And I don't place myself as successful based upon number of clients, income, how many book sales, any of that. My success is rooted in how do I feel? Do I feel good about myself? Do I feel good about what I'm doing? Do I feel good about my life? Do I feel at peace with everything? If I can say yes to that, then that means I'm successful. And that's how I gauge success now. And I'll never be one of those people that will be out there being like, if you work with me, you'll start closing 500K years or whatever. It's like, that's so old. Like, that's so burnt out. Like, people don't want fake promises anymore. They just want to find peace inside of themselves.
Yeah. And like that's something that sits with me is like, I don't necessarily want to make big promises to make money. Like, that has never been a thing, right? I want to truly make a difference in someone's life. And whether that's through conversation on this podcast, whether that's through, I do like health and fitness coaching for entrepreneurs. And like, so like if I help one person actually change their life and their routine, what to the point, and this is a big one for me, is like, I want it to the point where you don't need me anymore.
Me too.
Yeah. Like, so you don't need me anymore. Like, you can do this on your own. And like, I was on somebody else's podcast who was talking about how like he was like teaching somebody under him how to do his job, but he doesn't want to teach them too good. I was like, no, as a leader and as like a mentor, you should want to teach them to be better than you.
Yes.
Or as a parent, you want your kids to be better than you. You should always want them to be better than you. And then he's like, well, then they'll take my spot. I said, why aren't you filling bigger shoes at that point? Why aren't you working to fill bigger shoes? Like, it's not about you. If you are mentoring somebody, if you are coaching somebody, it is no longer about you. It is about that person. And you want that person to be the best they can possibly be.
Yes. And I've had so many clients that were in mentorship say to me, because I'll tell them, whatever I'm teaching you, when it works and we see transformation, you can use that information and go teach it yourself a different way, or however way you feel called. And they're always surprised by that. Like, oh, you won't think I'm stealing it or copywriting it. I'm like, well, for one, it's nothing I created. It came through me. And number two, it's supposed to be a ripple effect. So absolutely, I want you to say, I learned this, I utilized it, this is what it did for me, and this is how I can help you. I want to see the ripple go out. So absolutely, anything that we talk about, anything that I teach you, even if it's a modality, even if it's, whatever, I don't care. Take that information. It's not proprietary. Put it in your own words and get out there and keep sharing that light, keep spreading the awareness and the word. And I've actually had to end contracts with people, or they'll come back and they'll say, I want to do another round. I'll be like, you don't need it. You're done. You're good. Like, it's time for you to stand on your own. And because sometimes, I'm sure you've been in coaching or mentorship packages, since you've been on your journey, but it's like, you almost get a little bit afraid to let them go. You like build, it's like a breakup when it's over.
It's a connection that you don't want to lose, because you feel like it's holding you accountable. It's holding you to where you are. And if you lose it, you might end up back where you were.
Yep. And so I always have to tell people, like, no, our time is done. Like, you got this. I've seen you do it. I'm cheering for you. You don't need me anymore. And that always surprises people too. And it's like, well, of course I would love to be paid, but I'm not going to take your money when I know you no longer you don't need my services anymore. I want to be challenged. I want to talk to someone new. I want to expand myself a little bit more. And it's your time to now stand in the light and go do your thing, and watching people slowly kind of do that. And I see them now. I see my prior clients online showing up and doing their thing. And I'm so happy for them. Like, I'm always like, yes, like, I knew you could do this, but I'm the same way. And it's nice to meet another person who does that in their industry, because it's a rare thing today.
It is very rare. Most people just want you to just pay, and then they don't even give you the value that you're paying for.
Right.
A lot of these mentorships and coaching, it's like, they literally give 50% effort, and they fit it as like a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And that drives me nuts too, because it isn't one size fits all with anything. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's not a one size fits all. I can't just hand you one thing that will give you everything you need, because everyone's circumstances or situations are different. And especially like something like what you're doing, where you're trying to help people get out of like their past issues and traumas and things that they've developed over time, and like getting through that, like that's not the same for every person. And you're sitting here giving a one size fits all. Like meditation doesn't work for everyone. That is, I mean, I'm one of those people. I can't sit there. I ADHD can't do it. Like, and like it works great for other people, you know. But like there's certain things that work for me, like lifting weights. That's my meditation. Like, I can get in there and I can really get to it. That's my version of that. And that is different, like for every person. And that means every time you're helping someone, it's going to be unique. It's not cookie cutter.
No, never. And that's why I don't generally like to do I don't pay for other people's group programs and stuff like that, because a lot of times they are cookie cutter, you know, and I found like it's just people regurgitating information over and over again that someone else has already said. And while that's always the case at some level, you know, we're all bringing it through our own lens of perception. Private mentorship is where it's at for me, because I get to take a journey with these people. I get to hold space for them. I get to support them. I get to help them shift. And watch them literally change their entire state of being in their entire life. And it's the most rewarding thing for me is watching the light and behind someone's eyes turn back on when they finally get it. 'Cause it's, you know, my job is to help you figure out inside of you. It's not to just tell you the answers, you know? So I always help people find it within them, because I find that sticks longer. If that client's not doing any of the work to figure it out, they're not going to remember me just telling them something. But if they had to dig for it, if they had to sit with it, they're going to remember that.
Yeah. And it's like it's a genuine connection that you're making with each person individually. Mm-hmm. So now it's even stronger when you're giving them this information. If it's generalized, most people just take it as like a general thing, right? I can scroll on social media and find 10 of these little tips and tricks, you know what I mean? Like, but when you're actually connecting with somebody, you actually understand them, they understand you, and the information is exchanged at a different level.
And you feel safe. And that's the whole point of something like that. In containers in any shape or form, no matter what industry, is when you build that relationship with someone, you feel safe, you start to trust them, you open yourself up, you grow exponentially in that way. But you have to first be able to open yourself up to you. Like you have to be open to yourself first, because otherwise that won't work. It won't matter how good of a coach you have.
No. And that's where you have to be open to that change. You have to be aware of what you want. And all of that starts with the groundwork. Yeah. That it doesn't matter how many coaches for business, for health, for anything. No matter how many you hire, if you can't take in what they're giving you, you're going to get nothing from it. Yeah. So you have to start with you, and you have to start with where you're at.
Yeah, you have to be willing to implement and try and do the things. And I've had people go through mentorship. It's very rare, but I've had a couple. I think I've probably had 2 over the last 8 years that paid and just didn't do the work. And it's like, you keep showing up for them, and after that, if they get through their contract and they don't do it, I won't re-sign them. I won't do it again, because it's like, you know what, you obviously aren't ready. You're not ready to do it. And when you are, and you come back and I can feel it, maybe we'll try again. But right now, you just got to sit in where you are until you're ready to actually get up and move.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, I've had to turn people away because you're just not serious. You're not ready. You know, like, I'm not going to, 1, I don't want you paying for something you're not getting anything out of. Yeah. And, like, 2, you have to want this. If you don't want it, I can't help you. Yeah.
And sometimes it's funny because I wanted it for so long, you know, before 2015, but it took me getting to a space of having no choice but to face my pain, and then the space of complete exhaustion from trying to make a man into something he wasn't willing to be, and try to heal myself and try to heal him and try to carry the weight of the whole world. And it literally exhausted me to the point to where I could barely move anymore. And sometimes that's the path that some of us take, is we have to hit that complete other rock bottom of where we are like, okay, fine, I'll do it your way. I'll try something. I will do this. I'll do that. And so I don't know. I have a lot of compassion for people that walk that path. And now I used to, back in the day, I'd want to step in and try to prevent them from hitting rock bottom, and what I've learned is it just makes it worse. So now I just honor people where they are on their path, and I don't see them as wrong. I just like, well, that's where they are in their path. That's where they need to be. And I get to choose if I want them in my life at some level, and how much of that do I want. But it's not my job to wake people up. It's not my job to fix anybody. My only job is to accept them for who they are, where they are, and know that that's perfect for them.
It took me a long time to get to that point too, like where I thought I could help everyone.
Yeah.
You can't. You just can't. You really can't. People, there's many people that have to hit rock bottom to make a change. And some people will still hit rock bottom and still not change.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And it's just like one of those things you have to accept. Like, I can't make your choices, you know? It's a hard one too, especially if you are like that more people pleaser like we are. Like, you just want help and you want to fix it and you want them to be happy. But we have zero control over that.
Nope. It's none.
It sucks.
It does. It's hard to watch at times, but I just remind myself in those moments, like, that's where they need to be. Nobody could have, as much as I wanted someone to save me. I mean, there's nothing where, like, I was 100% a daddy's girl. We were very enmeshed in a very unhealthy way. We were very codependent on each other. And he was my whole world. So when he died, literally a part of me died. And then with having no support and still having to run a business and a household and kids and all the things, I was carrying the weight of the world. And it's like, I was just begging, someone come save me, like, someone support me, someone do this, someone do that. It's like, nobody is coming. There's no one can save you. You have to save yourself. And I was really mad about that for a long time. And it was okay. I was like, this really sucks. But at the end of the day, I can look at myself and be like, damn, I'm a badass. Like, look at me after all this shit I've been through. And I just had the best weekend of my life, and I just did this or I just did that. And I wake up so grateful. I go to bed so grateful. And to me, that's success right there. It's like, who cares what we have or don't have? Like, are you happy? Because, I was just talking to someone earlier today. They're like, oh, but with money, you can buy this or that. And I said, yeah, that's true. Money buys a lot of convenience, a lot of luxury, a lot of things. I said, but if you're not happy broke, you're not going to be happy rich.
No, it's not going to make that.
No, it's not. You're just going to blow it all constantly trying to fill a void inside of you. And I know, because I was there. I did it.
Think of like people who win the lottery.
Yeah.
Most of the time
they lose it.
Not happy, and then they lose it because they didn't really find happiness. So they spend the money for happiness, and then it's gone.
Yep, they blew it all. Because that also, if you're not happy, I've generally noticed that if you're not happy, it means you're not happy with yourself. You're not feeling that you are worthy or you're enough. And so getting a large amount of money or making a lot of money is going to make you feel like a fraud or a failure, or it's going to bring up these deep insecurities, and you're going to want to blow it as fast as you can to show your worth instead of feel your worth. And that's a lot of what happens with people. And I was that. I made a lot of money and I was the breadwinner and I did all of these things. And I just, as fast as it came in, I was buying people things. I was doing all the things. I would go on these 3-day business trips and I would spend $700 on a whole table's dinner. I'd just slip them my card, or, I'd make these big things, and I look back and I just want to hug her and be like, oh man, you were really trying to prove that you were someone to love and like and choose.
I was just going to say, like, that's what you're buying, is you're buying other people's love.
Yeah.
That's not good either. 'Cause
No.
you're not actually getting love. You're just getting attention from people, and that's falsifying that love.
Yeah, and attention isn't love. No.
Not even close.
No. And so it doesn't mean that I don't buy things for other people or treat other people, but I don't ever do it from a space of, if I don't do this, they won't like me. It's a matter of, does it feel right to me to do that? You know?
Like sometimes it's just nice to do.
Yeah. And in our friends group, you know, we all take turns. It's like, you know, one will pay for lunch and the other one will pay for dinner or whatever. Like, it's just, we don't even really think about it. They're like, oh, I'll Venmo you. I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, no big deal. Get me next time or whatever. It's just so much more fluid.
It's a different connection though, right? Like, so
yes.
when you change the people you surround yourself with by putting up those boundaries and having standards when it comes to the environment you want to be in, now you have people who respect each other, and they're not in it because they get something from the other person.
Right.
It's now an actual connection. And so when you do things like go out to lunch or go out to dinner, it is like, oh, I'll grab it this time, I'll get it this time. And like it goes back and forth, and it's very seamless, and you don't really have to think about it. Whereas like now when you're surrounded by the other type of people, now you're like, oh yeah, well, I'll pay for this, and then you just Venmo me, because you don't trust that it's ever going to come back.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference. And that's why putting up boundaries and separating yourself and putting distance between, not even just cutting, like you don't even have to cut everyone out, just distance even, helps you be in a better place all around.
Yeah. And I mean, that's exactly what I did in most of the relationships I lost. There was a few that I cut off, but most of them, I just quit being the one reaching out. I quit being the one that was doing all the work. And
how fast does it end?
Oh, well, my family was the hardest part, because my extended family, when I stopped putting in all the effort, they just disappeared. And so it happened really fast. And, you know, I used to be hurt by that, but something that I receive all the time is anything someone does or says has zero to do with you. Zero. It has nothing to do with your worth, whether you're enough, whether you're lovable, whether you're deserving. It's 100% who they are, their state of being, how they see the world, and it has nothing to do with you. And that has been something that has helped me be able to let go of relationships. Like a best friend that I had for since 2017, we stopped being friends this year. And when she said she wanted to have space and, you know, didn't think we should be friends anymore, I didn't chase after her. Did I want to? Yeah. Do I miss her? Yeah. But I was like, this has nothing to do with me. And this is what she needs. And I'm going to respect her and love her enough to let her go. And if she comes back, she comes back. But I'm not chasing anybody anymore. I'm not trying to prove I am a good friend. I'm da-da-da. No, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, okay, you're free, go. And I think sometimes people do that because they want you to chase, and I just won't do it anymore.
Yeah, because if you're confident in your actions, right, you're confident that you are a good person and the things that you put out in the world are good things, right? All intentions are good. Some people may not take it that way, but if you know that deep down you are a good person, you're a good human being, and you're doing good things, you have nothing to be sorry for when things don't work out. It's fine. Yeah. People just go separate ways. And it is hard, and it sucks when you kind of stop reaching out to certain people and you're just like, wow, that ended fast. I mean, I literally don't talk to anyone in my family. And I moved away. I've had one person visit me in 8 years. So it's like, you know, it's just like one of those things. It is what it is. And like, I understand. And like, this is something I stand by. So I've went back many times and kind of gotten treated like crap. Mm-hmm. And it just hit me at one point. I was just like, this is not what I'm doing wrong. This is how they're reacting to me being here and how I make them feel. And there's nothing I can do about that. And sometimes they don't even know why they're acting the way they're acting, why they're responding the way they're responding. That's just who they are right now. And I have to just let them be, not engage, not escalate, just let it be. And it's so much more peaceful.
It is. And I always say you only defend what you doubt. And so I don't defend myself anymore. I don't defend my character because I'm like, I don't doubt who I am. I don't doubt who I am. And so I'm not going to do that. But it generally is the people who are most centered in themselves and empowered in themselves that have the brightest lights. And when those bright lights get around other people, it shines on things that they're not willing to see, and it triggers them. And then they end up, projectiling that out like vomit onto you. And so, I always look at that and go, oh, I guess they're seeing things that they don't like. That's not my problem. I'm just being me.
And as long as you're comfortable with that, it's way easier to deal with it.
Yeah.
If you have your own insecurities and now it's insecurity bouncing off insecurity, that's where it's a little rougher. But once you figure it out, it's very freeing to know, like, they just have to work on their stuff. I know where I am.
I mean, even for me, like now, like obviously being triggered or being in a heavy emotion or trauma that's coming up isn't comfortable, but I get excited. I'm like, oh, something's here. Like I get to make more space, and I think sometimes people think it's weird. And I'm like, maybe it is weird because it's not the norm, right? It's not mainstream, but man, it works for me. Like this, it just makes the whole process easier because I'm like, wouldn't you want to make space in your house for something better or, for a new something to come in? So yeah, when I find that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is my golden moment. Like I get to make space right now, and you never know what you're going to find and what little golden nuggets show up with it and how much freer and lighter you're going to feel. And so, the work never stops. The supporting yourself never stops. The journey never stops. You just get really good at doing it. And it becomes something that you love doing instead of something you dread doing. Yeah. And then you can enjoy your life no matter the circumstances.
It's amazing what little bit of self-worth how did you phrase it? Self-respect.
Self-respect.
Goes a long way. Like,
yeah.
Just even starting it makes the biggest difference.
Yeah. And it didn't, like I said, that's why I said it was about a good 3 years before I really knew that I loved myself, but I would stand in the mirror and I'm a big proponent of, I won't tell you to stand in the mirror and say you love yourself when you don't, because then you're lying to yourself and that's not respectful either. And so I would stand in the mirror and list off things I appreciated about myself. And I started where something felt I could stretch it a little bit, but it was rooted in truth and moved my way up because, just saying affirmations in the mirror or to yourself when you really don't believe them, that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to really be willing to look at the truth and say, it's okay. This is okay. Like I can find reasons to appreciate myself or what the extra weight or the extra time or whatever, the extra space of not having the things, appreciate what it's giving me, So you have to really, I think the most important thing we can be is truthful with ourselves.
Yeah, you got to be honest, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest with anyone else?
You can't. It all becomes a mask, an act, and a performance.
Yeah, and I think everyone at some point doesn't like themselves. At some point, there's going to be some point in your life that you just don't like yourself.
Yeah.
We've all been there. And sometimes you're still there. Sometimes it's a long journey in that. But if you take the few steps forward, you can get to the point where you do love yourself.
Yeah.
And I've been on the lowest of the lows before. And right now, honestly, I feel like I'm at the highest of the highs.
That's amazing.
I think it's pretty good, right?
Yeah. But like an ocean wave or a heartbeat, it dips and ebbs and flows, and we have to be willing to take the ride.
And it's not every day, right? Like tomorrow I might wake up a little bit less kind of self-confident and full of myself, but today I woke up pretty good, it varies.
I love that. It's true though. It really does vary. But I've even made, like, I don't know. I I don't fight with those days either, though. It's like, I just give myself permission. I give myself space for grace, and I'm just like, it's okay. And the more accepting I am of my state of being, the faster I shift out of it anyway. So resistance is the,
I feel like telling somebody
it.
else. Yeah, I feel like telling somebody else helps me too. So like if I'm like in a slump and I'm just not in the mood today, I will tell my husband. Or like, I started my period. I'm in the mood. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And like just telling somebody that almost makes me snap out of it. Like it's like, oh, okay, now I've acknowledged it. Now how can I get out of it? And it's just it's that full honesty. If you're not honest with yourself and you try to pretend like every day's a good day, it's not going to go well. It's not. You can't just wake up and just say it's a good day, like, and just assume it's a good day. Sometimes it's not.
Yeah. And sometimes there's circumstances beyond your control that, that create environments and things. But again, it's a matter of how you regulate yourself, how you support yourself, but that's, you just telling your husband like that's why the first step in the purification process is I see you, because it's like, you got to call it out. You got to tell the truth. You got to look at yourself and be like, what's going on right now? Like, what's showing up for you? And just calling it out, it takes away so much of that energy right away. And
when you're not hiding anything at that point, right? Because it's out. You said it out loud. Even if you're saying it out loud to yourself, like you're saying it out loud.
Yeah.
And that makes it real, and it makes it there instead of sitting with you like, is this real?
Yeah. You're not holding it in the front of your brain, like trapped, focused on it. You're like, hey, everybody, I'm not in a great mood today. I'm feeling a certain way. But in doing that, it's the same thing. It's like when you give something space for grace and allow it to transform, it usually does. But when you're hiding something, when you're pretending, when you're ashamed or, whatever, you're putting pressure on it. You're putting all of your energy into it. You're going to end up exhausted. It's eventually going to show itself anyway. And all that energy does is build and build and build. And then, your son forgets to take the trash out, which is something so trivial, and you just erupt, right? And that's something parents, we've all had those experiences. And it's because you're trying to pretend you're okay when you're not. And instead just be like, God, right now, I'm just really not feeling myself, and you know what? In 10 minutes, you might be right back into feeling yourself because you gave it the space to be there and that it's okay that it's there.
The other big thing that I like to focus on too is only what's in my control. So a lot of people tend to focus on stuff that they can't control. Like we can't control what happens, in the world and the way things are going or what they're doing or what's happening next, right? We can't control all that, but we can control our day to day.
Yeah.
Or maybe something big happens in your life, but you can only control so much of it. So focus on that little pieces that you can control and not the stuff that you can't control. Because if we focus on what we can't control, nothing can change.
Yeah.
But we can take action on things that we can't control. And
absolutely.
That's a big one too. So you're not only letting out your feelings and how you're feeling in that moment, but you're also focusing on the right areas.
Yes. And that's a big reason why no matter what my circumstances are, I can still live a great life and still find peace and joy, because that's exactly how I look at it. There's things that have happened that are well, there's literally nothing I can do about this, and I didn't do anything to create this. It's just here. So I can let it ruin my day, or I can be like, let me focus on something else that does feel good, because this is now in God's hands. There's nothing I can do. And sometimes I'll ask myself, is there something that I can do? And if the answer is yes, I say, okay, what is that? And let's go do that. And if it doesn't progress it anymore, I'm like, okay, well, I've done what I know that I can do that's in my power. And now I got to let it go and set it free and shift my focus to something else that needs my attention. And then I always ask myself, what's showing up in front of me right now that needs to be seen or needs to be, the work that needs to be done, or, an opportunity to just go, how about we take the next 3 days off and go to the beach, whatever it is, it's what's showing up for me right now. And that's super helpful. But you're right. Holding on to trying to control anything, honestly, is such a waste of energy.
very much.
The only thing you
only
can control is how you feel.
Yeah. And like, for a good example is, so we were in California and we were driving on Big Bear and we hit a rock, right? And it hit the oil pan. It was like a lowered car. So the engine blew up. We could have freaked out.
Yeah.
We could have, went crazy, but we just calmly dealt with the situation and what was in our control, which was calling a tow truck, getting it towed to where we needed to get it towed, and then going to our hotel and sleeping until the next day when we can actually deal with the situation.
Yeah.
And that was like, most people would probably use a little bit more emotion, right?
Yeah.
Freak out, like be in a panic, maybe cry, and like we're miles away from home and like just had to figure it out. And if you slow down and you look at like what's in my control, well, right now it's literally calling the tow truck, bring this to wherever I need to, and then going from there. And that's just like, I think if you focus on that instead of like, how could this happen to me? I can't believe we did this. I can't believe this happened.
Why you just get pulled down into the story more and more and more.
Yeah. And like that whole why me is just crap. Stop doing that.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. No, I mean, I had, we all know key fobs today are ridiculous to have replaced. It's like $500. And I had left my keys in an Uber, and someone else had ordered the Uber. I couldn't get hold of the Uber to get my keys back. He didn't voluntarily give them up either. And instead of like melting down and beating myself up and going through all these things, I was like, well, what I can do is get another Uber, go back to where my car is, meet a locksmith, pay the thing because I need my car keys. And it was a 4-hour process. So I went and sat at the bar, had a couple of glasses of champagne, talked to some people, enjoyed my day. I was like, this isn't the optimal circumstances, but I'm going to make the damn best of it because otherwise it's just going to be even more miserable. So why put gasoline on the fire? Just let the fire go out.
Yep, it is what it is at that point.
I mean, you don't have to, I always say this, acceptance is not agreement. You don't have to agree with what's happening or agree with your circumstances, but you can still accept them. Acceptance is, this is what is. That's all it is. But a lot of people are afraid to accept things because they think it means they agree with it. I'm like, not at all.
You don't always have to agree with it, but accept things that you can't change is just,
right.
It's peace.
Yeah. And that's what it means to be in peace, is like, hey, this is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. I get to choose how I respond. So just start responding differently. Like how do you normally fly off the handle? Do you normally get defensive? Do you normally freak out and create a story? Okay. What would it be to do the opposite of that? And just start trying, start practicing, start catching yourself in that moment and shifting. And like, those are the small steps. When I started, I was literally crawling. I mean, I would be laying on my closet floor in tears, begging God to save me. And this is when all that information started coming in, like, this is how we can help you. And in a way, that was them saving me, but I had to do the work, right? They can give me all the information, but I had to choose to practice it. And it wasn't easy. And there were days that I literally was crawling. That's how slow I was going in the work. And then there's other days where I'm sprinting through it. You have to be willing to crawl. You have to be willing to do all of the things because it's for you. Like, you're doing this for you. You're not doing it for anybody else. And if you're doing it for somebody else, there's your first flag that you're looking for approval or worth, or, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be that. You're going to regret this. Who cares what anybody else thinks? What do you think of yourself? Can you do this for yourself, even if nobody sees you? That's what I always tell people. If you need somebody to acknowledge your workouts, acknowledge your progress, you're not doing it for you. But can you do it behind closed doors when nobody sees you? Can you show up for you when nobody's watching you? Because if you need someone to watch you, you're doing it to prove something, not because you love yourself.
100%. I mean, you have to do it for you.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're going to wrap up, but I want to see if you have one piece of advice you want to throw out there, maybe a little something about your coaching before we wrap up.
I think it's already been said, but in every moment of your day, if you can choose love and compassion, you can choose to be with yourself and love whatever's showing up like you are a child, the way that you wanted your mother and father to do. If you can start there of just being compassionate and not judging yourself and whatever you're going through, just be like, it's okay to feel this. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to feel ashamed. It's okay. I'm going to sit here with you. If you can start there, that alone will begin the process of you shifting your frequency, because in that, you are literally opening your heart and allowing a piece of yourself back in that you have pushed away for so long. And that's where, before you hire any coach or do anything in the personal development or healing world, the first thing is you have to be willing to sit with yourself. You have to be willing to look at yourself and see yourself through the eyes of compassion. You don't have to love yourself. You don't have to like yourself. But if you can be compassionate, then you have a leg to stand on and you can make steps forward. But it has to start there. You have to be willing to face yourself, because the ego will manifest what you won't meet. So all the things you're afraid of, all the things you're worried about that you don't want to look at, well, the ego is going to create that for you because you won't look at it. So save yourself the hassle and the suffering of going through another experience of hitting rock bottom or calling in another toxic relationship by being willing to look at yourself, to have compassion and meet yourself where you are. That's always going to be the first place I start with anybody. And so if anybody can take that and just, whenever they're in a mood or angry or triggered, they can just take a deep breath and say, it's okay to be here. It's okay to feel this, and to look at themselves and to just be there. You don't have to do anything. Just be with yourself with it. Your whole life will change, and it will change pretty rapidly.
It's amazing little things that can help us. So
yeah.
And then how can everybody find if anyone's interested in the coaching or anything like that, and your
so
books?
You can go to johannaburkhardt.com. I'm official Johanna Burkhardt on most social platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And the two books that I've published so far are on Amazon. The Holy Grail, The Journey Through My Soul's Evolution, is the most popular one because it details my awakening and my trauma surfacing and all the big stuff. And so that's on Amazon as well. And my third book is called Desperately Seeking Me, The Road to Finding and Choosing Myself. And I'm in the process right now of finding a publisher. So hopefully by next year that will be out for everybody. That's going to be a really good book, because I feel like that's what most people are doing. They're just trying to find themselves. And so I think it will be a book that will be popular among women, especially the people pleasers. As I document how I shifted out of that. But yeah, all of this information can be found on johannaburkhardt.com or any of my social platforms, but my books are also on Amazon.
So everybody have to check that out.
Yeah.
You want a coach that isn't going to just have you make a payment every month.
Yeah, no, I'm all about the support. Like, how can I show up for you? How can I help you show up for you? And like, I don't know. There's things that are more important than money. And, obviously we should get paid for our services. But there's plenty of people that I've helped that have never paid me a dime. And, I love those stories when people be like, I've been following you for 10 years. I've never bought anything, but you've changed my life. And it's like, I love that. That's amazing. It just shows that money's just an excuse.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just even like posting certain things on social media could change somebody's day, let alone their life, So there's so many ways to provide value. So many easy ways now.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. If you want to hang out after I wrap this up real quick,
okay.
We'll talk for a second.
Okay, sounds good.
But I thank you so much. And bye, guys.
Bye.